Welcome to EngageSCV. My name is Vitaliy, and today we're sitting down with Justin Clark and Ryan Rodriguez from Whiz Tutor app, a startup from Santa Clarita. Could you take a moment to tell us a little bit about what you guys do?
I would love to. So we have a startup called Whiz Tutor, which is an on-demand platform that's a mobile and web app that connects students to on-demand, in-person background check tutors. It works kind of similar to Uber. You can go on the app, request a tutor, choose a location, choose a subject, and then have that session in person and pay right through that.
I feel like that's a pretty common method of conducting business nowadays, right? So you have a set of contractors and then a set of people who need a certain service or product, in this case a service. And so what you guys do, you just facilitate the contact between the two parties, is that right?
So it's like a double-sided marketplace. You got the tutor and you got the student.
I've been seeing that a lot lately, actually. A buddy of mine just went and he was selling his house, and he needed a contractor to come and paint up a few things, and so he just went in this app and found a contractor to do some painting on his house before he sold it, and there was no money exchange. It's all done through the app.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so much easier these days. I mean, technology has really changed the way we get and receive help, and that's what we're really striving to fix right now with the tutoring industry.
And you guys are located in Santa Clarita?
Based out of Santa Clarita, yes.
Okay. And how did you guys meet?
That's a really interesting story. So about 9 months ago, there was this thing called Startup Week in Santa Clarita, which is sponsored by Google for Entrepreneurs. It was held here at the local college of the Canyons. Myself and my business partner, Giovanni Button, who already developed and started working on this idea, Whiz Tutor, wanted to go to this event and pitch it and see if we can get a team together to help us build it. Long story short, we went to the event. We weren't allowed to pitch because it was too far developed. So we decided to network while we were there and join other teams and help them grow their own businesses. So Ryan ended up pitching that night, and he was pitching something exactly similar to what we were doing. So he started pitching this on-demand tutoring app, and we're like, oh man, he's pitching the same thing as us. We gotta stop him.
How crazy is that it's happening here in Santa Clarita? For a community that's not really well developed in the tech entrepreneurship, you guys found almost the exact same concept, and you guys were able to team up.
I guess there's just a huge niche for tutors out here or something like that.
Well, that's a true thing, because College of the Canyons is a pretty big player in the community here, so it just makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's so cool.
I don't know, Ryan, you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, no, when he stopped me after I gave my 30 or 60-second pitch, whatever it was, he said, we're doing the same exact thing. Do you want to join us, or do you want to continue doing your startup within the 3-day startup weekend?
Yeah.
And I was like, what do I do?
So he was threatening you.
It seemed like a threat. Yeah. I said it to him as well. I said, is this a threat? And he's like, no. If you want to do it, go ahead. Just know that we have a team already in place.
Yeah.
So I took about probably a minute. It was the longest minute. And I'm like, I don't know. Who do I go with? Do I go with the team that I don't know? Or these guys who I somewhat know? So I made a decision.
We were going to stop him no matter what.
Yeah.
Of course, you kind of give him no choice, but it's nice to give him a yes or no option.
I decided, what the heck, I'm going to take the chance, and so far it's been great. Yeah, this team is really well along the way to the mission and vision on what it is we want to accomplish with Whiz Tutor in the education technology field.
And you guys, I've known Ryan for a very long time, and well, not a very long, but a few months now, and I feel like you guys have made some significant progress on your app. So can you tell us a little bit about where it started 9 months ago and what kind of progress you've made since? I'm sure there's a lot of learning, and that's progress in itself there.
Yeah, before the app, before we designed it, none of us, not a single person really on the team had experience building a startup. So that was an experience within itself. So the progress pretty much went from designing an idea, then to building a team to help us make this idea come to life, building the blueprints to design the app, the frameworks, design the app and the web app, getting funding, getting insurance, doing legal deals. So we've grown from one idea to a fully launched mobile app and web platform in about 9 months' time with funding, and graduated from a great program called Startup Next, which kind of helped us design and help us build our platform. It really shows about entrepreneur skills. So yeah, it's been a great experience ever since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you guys just completed the Startup Next?
Yeah.
We did. We just graduated
about a month ago?
Yeah, a month ago.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the program is about, what it took for you guys to get into the program?
Sure.
What kind of, was it a rigorous application process?
Yeah, so about 4 or 5 months ago, we felt like we were strong enough as a team to start applying to accelerators and incubators. At the time, Ryan, myself, and Giovanni sat down to do all these applications to apply to Y Combinator, Techstars, all these big incubators. And so that is a really rigorous job. The applications are, 25 to 30 questions long, but each about maybe 2 pages long worth of writing.
Yeah, it took several hours, and probably within a couple of days to really think about our question and know how to answer it.
Yeah.
And I would say the acceptance rate, they were relating it that it was harder to get into harder to get into an accelerator than it was to get into Harvard.
Oh my God! And this is from what I understand. What is it? Startup Next.
Startup Next
is one of the most rigorous ones in.
It's a Techstars program, and it's the #1 pre-accelerator. So what does it focus on is getting you ready to pitch to accelerators, to get seed investment, and they also introduce you to mentors and founders to help you along the way so you can get into an accelerator you're looking to get into.
So to paint a little picture, this year Startup Next had a little bit over 100 applicants, and they took on 7.
Yeah.
And we were one of the 7 companies that got into the program.
Over 100 applicants.
Yeah.
That's congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah,
we were really surprised. We said
surprised,
yeah. We were surprised because I think we did about like 10. We applied to like 10 accelerators.
Yeah.
And we told each other, at least Startup Next, please. At least out of all of them, at least we should get into Startup Next. And when we got that email, I think it was the 3 of us, Giovanni as well. New Hall Refinery.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's when we got the letter saying.
How perfect! What a great place to celebrate.
We were eating dinner, and it's like 9 o'clock at night, and I just got an email on my phone. I was like, we just got in, dude. We got in.
Yeah.
We need shots.
Yeah. Oh my God, how
It
fun.
was a good time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a great experience, and I highly recommend anybody that's somewhere midway through launching their startup, 5 to 6 months work in, that start applying to some accelerator programs.
So what kind of things have you guys learned? Was it like you go in every day for the month and you're there for like 8 hours? What kind of things can a startup expect?
So they expect a lot out of you and your company. So they want to see your growth. You're there for about 2 months' time. You meet every Monday for about 4 to 5 hours. And what they do is they bring in someone that has experience. It could be a previous entrepreneur that's launched a startup that maybe just had an exit for $100 million. People that have been really successful at launching a company, opening IPO, or selling it. So we learn from them. They brought in professional mentors that have their own startups, that work for Microsoft, work for other big companies. And we meet with them weekly, and we show them what we've done, our progress, and they kind of like guide us. Hey, do it this way, not this way. We'll help you here. And then every night we have to pitch, where every team pitches for either a 1 minute, 2 minute pitch, or a 5 minute pitch. And you get that pitch really refined, and by the last day of the event, or last day of the program, you have this thing called a demo day, where they bring in all these investors and all these people, like-minded people, fill this room, and you got to get on stage, and you're like Steve Jobs, and you got to pitch your new Apple product.
Yeah. How many people would you say you pitched in front of?
There's over 100 in there, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that nerve-wracking? Was that intense?
It was nerve-wracking, but because the program prepared you so well, and you had to pitch every week, you pitch for 2 months straight, so you get used to it.
You have it down.
Yeah.
And how helpful is it to repeat your pitch over and over and over and over and over?
It is, but then you're like, okay, you make these small little pivots to your company, and then your pitch changes, so you kind of get lost.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you know what, we're not doing that anymore. What are we doing now?
Yeah.
So it's kind of changed.
Yeah.
It's funny the car rides over from, because it was in Santa Monica. It took place at Cross Campus in Santa Monica. So the car rides over there, we had Justin driving and pitching at the same time, just going over it. So we constantly heard his.
So by the time you pitch, you're not even saying something. It's just words, right? It's just noise coming out of your
I don't
face.
even know what I was saying anymore. It's just memorization, regurgitation over and over again. I was just like, does this even sound right? And there was like one day I was just like super nervous. I was like, dude, this does not sound right. I don't want to pitch like this.
Yeah.
You're gonna be fine, man. You're gonna be fine. But yeah, it was really cool. We learned a lot.
Yeah. So, what would you say are some challenges that you've overcome since you've started your startup that have rewarded you with the greatest lessons?
Oh, I think one of the greatest lessons I've learned is to have faith and persistency. As an entrepreneur, I didn't know much about entrepreneurship at all, but now I feel like I know a lot.
Yeah.
The greatest key aspect to me is from what I learned from launching Whiz Tutor is that even no matter what hump gets in your way, you got to make sure you get over it. Because if you don't, you're gonna fail. Right off the bat. So you have to be extremely persistent. And every time you run into an obstacle, if you don't have the faith to get around that obstacle, you're never going to make it. So you just have to build the faith. And a lot of that faith really comes from the team you have together. We have 7 other people on our team, which consists of my brother, who's our COO, and then we have Ryan, who's in charge of our marketing, our CMO, and then we have our 2 developers and our graphic designer. And John and Dale are developers, and John Paul is our graphic designer. And anytime I felt like I was worried about something, we talk as a team and we would work that out. And that's really what matters. I mean, if you can have some people to rely on that are really there to help you through it, then that's what's going to make you succeed then.
Do you want to add anything to that, Ryan?
Yeah, sure. The one major thing I guess I learned would be spend as least amount of money as possible. So to anybody out there who's looking to create something, has an idea, and write the whole ideation, then execution, and make a plan and go about it. If they're thinking about they want to start executing, I would say spend 2 weeks to 30 days just doing customer validation. Forget about spending money or buying a logo, thinking of a name, buying a website. Get customer validation and try to find at least one person who's willing to pay you right then and there for whatever idea it is you have, and possibly create maybe the bare bones of whatever product or service it is you're willing to do. And then once you get that one person, slowly start building it, make a plan, and start seeing where you really need to spend money. That was one of the main keys I learned, not only with this startup, but as well through the Startup Next program, the Lean Startup Method by Eric Ries. That's a great book that every startup entrepreneur should read. Yeah, spend as least money as possible. That would be the main thing I learned.
Correct.
Spend the least amount, earn as much as possible.
In the very beginning.
Yeah.
Customer validation, man.
Customer validation.
Strong stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to add something else to that. So. There's one of the most strongest, and it's kind of common sense when you retrospectively look back and think, duh, this makes so much sense. But don't build your product or don't change the market to your product. Change your product to the market. So adapt to the market. Don't adapt the market to your product. It's the other way around.
Absolutely. And a lot of people focus on just designing this great product, and they keep on changing the features within the product and making it the way they think it should be, but they never ever really go out into the public and really say, hey, what do you think I should do here? Do you like this? Does this work for you? You know? And that's so important because you're not the person buying your product. You're just the person that believes in your product.
Right, yeah.
And you got to find the person that's going to be buying it.
You're the one facilitating the problem solving for the client.
Correct, yeah.
So you're not just, so I guess that makes sense. So you said, you mentioned how important it is to have a team who believes in your product and who you trust. That's a pretty important aspect of building a business. What are some interesting ways that you guys have went about attracting the right people
to work with?
To work with, exactly.
It's very hard to find the right person that's going to fit with you, but not just yourself, but the current people on your team.
Right.
And I mean, a greatest example was in the beginning before we got Ryan on board. a lot of us, we didn't have the confidence in him as we do now. We didn't know anything about him, and Gio at the time, which was my partner, we're like, okay, does he really believe in this as much as us? Is he going to be able to work as hard as us? Sometimes you don't find that out until you actually hire that person, which is not the best way, but sometimes you just gotta have a little faith in the person, I guess. But what's really worked for us to find these people is go to these meetups, local startup meetups, local like startup weekend. That's a good place to find people that may be like-minded that you can bring on a team like this. And if you don't have the money in the beginning to hire help, where you really need help, you really gotta search for people that believe in startups.
Yeah, sell them on the vision. Yeah. Sell them on the vision and dream. I don't know if you want to add on to that. You also found John and Dale out of Startup Weekend.
Correct. Yeah. So I found half my team out of Google for Entrepreneur Startup Weekend.
Yeah.
And it's the best team ever because they all were there for the same thing.
Yeah. And
they're all there because they want to either make a company, be a part of a company that's brand new, and they get a joy out of it. So you can't ask for anybody better than that.
Ryan, what would you say was one of the things that got you to be so attracted to the Whiz Tutor team?
It's really hard to find people who want to start something, who want to execute. There's a lot of people who have ideas, they're great ideas, but they either don't know where to start or whether or not they really want to take the time and implement. And when I saw these guys kind of pitching me and telling me what it is they were doing, I said, okay, they're different from the other people that I've met. We have spent these 3 days, so that was the first day. At the third day, I got to see what it is they did with their team, because we ended up going in separate teams during the startup weekend. And I saw what they were able to accomplish, and I said, okay, they're serious. They really do.
What did we do, dude?
They won first place at the startup weekend with their team. And what was funny is that I didn't want to join that team. I thought that team was going to win, but I said, no, I don't think it would be a good way for them to see how I work, because there's so many people on that was on that team for the startup weekend. So I joined some other one, and our team won third.
So we're the first video on EngageSCV?
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome, dude.
Yeah. So I don't know are you familiar with Vice? Vice, they're the guys who went to Korea for and they made like a 2-hour-long special on what it's like to sneak in a camera into Korea and go on tours and all these sorts of things. Have you guys seen this?
North Korea?
The best Korea.
Yeah. The Great Korea?
Yeah, right, yeah. So that's kind of how they got their start, is these two guys. And then they are now a huge media company. And so they produce these stories, these videos about interesting subjects. And so our idea is to kind of bring that sort of vibe into Santa Clarita by talking about different innovative companies around the city. And also there's another one called Monster Children, which is funded by Richard Branson, the Virgin Group. Yeah. And it's really just cool, authentic storytelling. So not to be confused with there's storytelling that's in a traditional news format, like what the Signal does, and it's but we want to bring more authenticity into our storytelling.
Yeah, it's more engaging. In the word, EngageSCV. Did you guys get that?
Yeah, all the cameras. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, and that's our idea of putting Santa Clarita on the map for tech entrepreneurship, because it's not going anywhere, it's only going up, and so I feel like the timing is right, and so we're just having a lot of fun with this.
Ryan, you want to talk about Cadenza?
Well, no, I was going to tell you, look into Cadenza. It's you've heard of him.
It sounds familiar.
It's the dean from Cal Arts. He started the company. It's a MOOC, and they focus more on the arts as opposed to science, tech, engineering, and math. So they're more on the A in STEAM, and they do creative coding, they do music, and it's all online videos. And they're out here in Santa Clarita, across the street from Kaiser. They have a really nice building.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta send me a link to that if you would. If you haven't already. I haven't seen them or heard of it.
$2 million?
Yeah, $1.4 or $2 million. They would, I'm sure they would be willing for you to walk into their office. And
I would love to just form that contact. And same with the EDC. They're doing what we're
yeah.
doing, but they're not doing it in the way that we're doing it.
No.
So
We reached out to them, and they're not doing it like you are. We
Yeah.
thought it was going to be that kind of a format.
right.
But yeah, I'll introduce you through email with
Excellent.
AJ,
I'd
the
be
dean or
Thanks
the
so much for doing
CEO, and the other person who's in charge. Yeah,
Cool.
I'll do that.
So for Whiz Tutor app, what are you guys currently working on?
So we just launched our beta platform, which is the web platform right now. We launched it about a month and a half ago. It's going pretty well. We're just trying to work the kinks out. And we're also trying to engage the community here in Santa Clarita as well as San Fernando, which is our launch cities. We want to slowly change how people find and receive a tutor. So we have to change how they think about that process.
So it's a very old school thing
It
right
is,
now, right?
yeah.
You pick up a little thing off of a
Yeah.
billboard or a bill post,
Yeah.
and then you call the number. And I actually saw that on I saw that outside the other day, and it was a very nice bill that they posted, but all the numbers were still there. And with the digital aspect, everyone goes on Google now, and that's
The search engine.
right.
Yeah. So,
Right.
Yeah. So now we're just trying to change how people think about that process, and to do
Yeah.
that, we have to do it through the process of marketing and engaging the community.
Mm.
So that's what we're really focusing on right now until come August when we're going to hard launch. So we're trying to figure out what's wrong with our current platform, make a couple pivots, changes, and then do that hard launch come August. I can give you a couple of user stories. We had it's kind of cool how you kind of see how technology is kind of changing the way people think and operate.
Yeah.
We had a father of a 9th grader who requested a tutor, and the tutor took an Uber, a 9th grade child, took an Uber from their home, met the tutor at Starbucks. Let me remind you, this was all done on their phone.
Right.
Met the student at Starbucks, the tutor at Starbucks, had that session, then took an Uber back home and went on his merry way. So
Yeah.
they opened up an app on the phone, they got an Uber, they got a tutor, they met the tutor, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Everything's just changed now. So,
Yeah.
and it was really cool to hear about this story and be in the same context as Uber. Like, oh, you got a Whiz Tutor and you got an Uber.
It makes me wonder, what else can we apply that sort of business model towards?
Oh,
So many things, right? Any sort of contract or any sort of service that you need is and now Uber is doing food deliveries as well.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy. Can you guys talk a little bit about your hiring process for getting? How are you guys finding tutors, and what kind of process is it to get the tutor to be a part of the Whiz Tutor platform?
I'm going to let Ryan answer that question because that's his job. He's in charge of the whole process. So he gives the best answer here.
Sure. So it's been a lot easier to find tutors in the first processes. So we thought that it was going to be really difficult. Who's going to want to go to try and be on our platform when they don't know who we are? And I think it started out with just posting some, creating applications or job openings on Craigslist. We started out with that. And then we saw in the community they have job fairs, they have posting boards on local community colleges, and we started taking those free routes, and people started applying. It was probably, I think, the first few months yielded like almost 200 applications of tutors, so we had to go through that process, and what that process looks like is we first review their application, what it is they fill out, and we have a couple assessment questions like how it is they would handle certain interactions between them and the student, how would they respond to that. And once we see that they meet that criteria, the next level is calling them, so scheduling an interview, seeing if they know how to communicate, how would they respond. So we want to get that feel before actually bringing them onto the platform.
Right.
And then from there, little by little, they'll be getting a couple of questions, and then they'll be on the platform. And if for whatever reason, someone who is not qualified to teach whatever subject they said they could teach, there is the ratings. So this parent or the student can go ahead and always rate the session afterwards. And then if they get a bad rating or a 3-star rating or what have you or lower, we'll go ahead and reach out to the tutor and make sure what happened and try to address that before they continue on our platform.
I think that's pretty important because they are a representation of your brand. You are not there to
That's our product.
That's your product. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's pretty important for them to deliver the top-notch premium experience that'll get the student to come back to you guys.
Yeah, and we found that some of our competitors, because there are some other competitors trying to do the same thing, is that they don't engage their tutors like we have. They just let them come on their platform freewillingly, which we feel like, I mean,
That's
kind of it's misleading to the student, because I mean anybody can just come on the platform and be like, I can tutor math, hire me now, and so it can be misleading. So we're trying to avoid that. Not to give too many clues away to our competitors.
Yeah, I'm sure they know, but execution is a big part of a business operation.
Right.
Speaking of which, how do you guys operate on a week by week or basis? So do you guys do sprints?
For when we want to get something done marketing wise, coding wise.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily do sprints, probably because our team is kind of smaller in a sense. So what we do is we do a lot of planning. And then we'll plan for about a week, and then we'll execute that plan for about 2 weeks. Coding's a little bit differently. So coding, in a sense, I mean, like when we're trying to develop or add something new to the app, the developers will do sprints. They'll get something done really quickly. We'll test it, and then if it doesn't work, we'll go back and get something done really quickly. We'll test it. We just had a testing last Tuesday, and we all sat down. We tried to break the app or try to do something wrong with it. So yeah, we do sprints in that context. But not so much in the marketing or sales context, because it's a lot of planning and the execution is very slow. So, but it takes a lot of time to plan that out, though.
Yeah, we have yet to reach product market fit, so we're still at those testing stages. So then we'll see how something has worked out, come back, assess it, talk amongst each other, see what else we can do, and then go from there.
How important would you say iteration is to managing a growing business?
Very important. Yeah, extremely important. When you mean by iteration, you mean like the first context of what your idea would be, essentially?
I'm talking about from the get-go to finding the product market fit and beyond.
Oh yes, I mean, that's where we kind of made the mistake in the beginning, is that we didn't focus so much on the user, what the user wanted. And when we came out of the Startup Next program, we did this 180 shift. We're like, okay, we got to go out into the market. We got to talk to all these people. And Ryan and I we talked to everyone. We started requesting our tutors on the app. We started pretending we were students and being like, okay, what do I want here? What do I want here? So the product market fit is the most important thing you can do, that you have to do. Otherwise, you're going to go down the toilet really quickly. And you can't ignore it. You just really can't. So that iteration is very important.
Yeah, being open, just being open to the idea of an iteration, that's tough, I guess, from an entrepreneur standpoint, because you have to be humble. You have to say, okay, we're
stubborn.
Yeah, we did something wrong.
We made a mistake,
the customer is saying we did something wrong. What next? And that's where we really have to look back and then talk amongst each other and find an agreement. So it's weird how those corporate structures that we've escaped from, I guess, from what entrepreneurs are creating, to escape from those corporate cultures. We have somewhat of that in a small little group, even though we don't realize it. But those are the kind of decisions that we have to make.
We do. We yell at each other. We're like, no, your idea sucks. No, my idea is better. No, it's not. And then let's go test it. Okay, we'll go test it for a day. All right, you're right. Fine. You have to submit.
What would you say are the next steps for you guys?
The next steps is to really, really make sure our project is 100% functioning. Every aspect of it. We don't want any problems with it. We want to gain as much information from our beta test we have going on right now, and then apply it to our hard launch come August. So our next step is just to take that information, fix what we need to fix, get ready for August when the school session starts to get strong again and open up. And that's pretty much all I can say about that. Just really be prepared when that time comes.
So when you say a hard launch, that basically just means the preparation for the school year, right?
Yeah, so just making sure there's no mistakes made on the app, all the coding's strong, and making sure we have logistics set right with payments and receiving payments. Making sure we have this equilibrium of tutors versus students, and making sure just everything's in the right order. So when we do spend all this money on marketing and running all these campaigns, we decreased our amount of mistakes that may happen in the future. So that's what we really want to do.
Yeah, our marketing channels really have to be dialed in along with our back end of the app and functionality of everything. So that hard launch can go as smooth as possible here in Santa Clarita and San Fernando.
One thing you brought up as far as finding the product market fit and making sure that the app is as cohesive as possible, and one thing that I want to bring up is the idea of a concept called user experience. You have to make sure that those things are rewarding to both users, and it's a delight to use, that people don't run into problems. I think that's a pretty huge thing that's neglected, because a lot of product managers and business owners, they neglect user experience, and that's the part that resonates with the customer base.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty important, and I think that's more important than a list of functional requirements that the developer or the team has to check off the list. So,
absolutely.
And that's the baseline. Sure, here's the things that the app has to accomplish, but I think the user experience, how it's done, that's the most important part.
Especially in the app world.
Yeah.
If you're designing an app or a mobile app or a web app, that user interface of how that a user is going to experience coming about something like getting a tutor, you have to design it in a way that works for them. If you don't understand your current user, if you don't know how they're going to go about doing that, then it's not going to work. So you really have to talk and engage people.
You have to hold their hand and guide them through the entire process, and then they have to be like, oh wow, that was pleasant. I'm not only going to do this myself, I'm going to tell others about it.
Yeah, you just got to give it to them and be like, hey, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
Let them go through the process of the user interface and see like, oh, okay, cool, I got it.
Yeah.
And if they get stuck on something, obviously you made a mistake and you thought it should work that way, it shouldn't. So then, we did that over and over and over again until we got it right. We still don't have it right pretty much. There's still things that we catch every day that like we thought that was going to be easy for us, but it's not easy for someone else. Yeah. So it's very important.
Have you run into a moment during your journey so far where you're like, no, the user is wrong, like simply enough, like they're just wrong and that's that?
Ryan, okay, let me restate that. Ryan, the business guy is part of the platform. Ryan, myself, and a little bit of Cameron, my brother, we are very open to the users. We're very open to taking their suggestions and opinions. But when you bring that over to some of the developers, some of them are like, I designed this, man. This thing is going to work. It should work for them. I don't get it. Are they just stupid or what? It's them. They're trying to figure out, we're like, dude, come on, man. They're asking for this. We got to change it. You know? And Ryan can kind of relate to that as well.
Yeah, it's tough being out there on the field and then trying to be the middleman between the customer and the developer and say, this is how it should work. And from the developer's point of view, they only have so much time to give to developing the product and actually go out there and talk to the customer or hear what it is they're saying. Yeah. So that's...
the other thing too is that a lot of people don't understand some people that don't know developing is that it takes so much time to develop something. You're sitting down hours on end writing code after code after code, and then when someone like myself or Ryan come in and be like, it's not working this way, guys.
Right.
Kelly, or this girl that just used her app, it doesn't work for her. And they're just like, no! We gotta go back to the drawing board again.
Architecture. So and they're like, do you know how long it's gonna take for me to do this?
Why?
Like,
yeah, so it's an annoying process, but it has to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone messaged me not too long ago, as they saw me as a community leader for EngageSCV meetup. And they asked if I knew of any co-working spaces in Santa Clarita, because there's a few that popped up, not a few, I should say, like one from many years back. The website is still up. They were never a co-working space to begin with, but they had the concept. And this was maybe 5 years ago. And and so they reached out to me asking if there was any co-working spaces in Santa Clarita, and to my knowledge, there were not, because that's something that I looked for when I moved my business here. And so I thought, it's not that often that I'm in this office anyway, because I work from home, and and I thought I got this space to solve that problem, and I would have much rather have paid for a co-working space. And so I thought, why not turn our Gem Digital Agency office into a co-working space? So that's kind of what we're exploring presently.
Cool.
You're onto something, dude. I know you, like 5 years from now, you're gonna have
Five?
this whole
Give me a
area.
year, dude.
No.
Yeah.
This whole area.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
I've seen this happen before in South Florida, where given 10 years, you have two shots of Google Maps side by side. You have one warehouses and broken down, an area that was not yet gentrified.
Yeah.
Given a screenshot right next to it, side by side, you have apartment blocks, you have all these restaurants, like all these hip things. So they turned this area in South Florida, it's called Wynwood, into this startup center in South Florida. And so the Facebook moved in, Microsoft moved in, their Magic Leap, have you guys heard about this? Is VR technology where you can control things through VR. It's like the world has a UI, user interface now. So they're in South Florida. So all these different startups and all these different companies came out of a gentrified area. And I got to Newhall and I said, this is exactly what's happening here. Just no one is capitalizing on the tech entrepreneurial aspect of it. And so I'm hoping Gem Digital and EngageSCV will fill that void and help the community grow and bring entrepreneurs, not only keep entrepreneurs here in Santa Clarita, but also attract from the outside, because everyone's leaving.
When we came out of the cross campus to start our next program, because that's a co-working space too. Really nice one, by the way. It's awesome space. One of our investors in our current company right now, he came and watched us pitch that night. He's like, we should open a space like this in Santa Clarita. Why don't you guys do this? And he's like, let's just go look tomorrow at buildings. And we're like, okay, but we just never thought there was enough people out here to utilize the space. But I think if you look around, you might find around.
They're all scattered. That's the thing. There's different pockets of entrepreneurship happening in Santa Clarita, but it's not a unified presence.
Yeah.
So I think you're more like right now you're focused on building your foundation, and you're a long-term play. You're waiting for that.
It's a long con.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, no, you're on the right track.
The thing is that there's a lot of people out here that are developers, that are marketers, that work for startups, entrepreneur like-minded people, but they commute. To
or they stay at home and they are isolated and working in a bubble. And so why not?
Because they're not made aware of the things that do exist. But there's really not much that does exist out here in the beginning.
They're looking, though. They are looking. I know several people who are. So.
Yeah. The only one I know that exists is the one that's put on by Santa Clarita, the co-working space that you
it's called the Business Incubator. Yeah.
Now this term has not been, I've heard this term before, but it's not really being used, and they call this Silicon Suburb. So I don't know if you want to start using that.
That's interesting. I've never heard of that, but I
started
started off.
This Silicon Suburb?
Well, I've heard somebody call this.
I hear Awesome Town. I hear now you got the Santa Clarita Diet TV show coming out here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I branded when I first got here. I knew that I have to build a community here, and we branded it as SCV Tech here. But the community is so immature that tech meant
it's gonna be
right.
Robots
Exactly, because our first meetup was where was it? It was at the Newhall Library. It was the Makerspace, and so everyone was everyone thought that okay, so you guys are building stuff with robots and doing like a makerspace type thing, and I'm like, no, tech just means and at this so then we rebranded into EngageSCV, and so we stand for growth, innovation, and tech entrepreneurship. And if the word startup is involved in there somewhere, people don't necessarily they think startup is somewhere who's works in the garage and
a lot of people don't understand what startup is.
Right, but the way we define startup is just a company who's doing something innovative.
Yeah.
Right. A startup could be it's someone who operates on lean methodology. And it could be a big company that's still a startup.
It's just something that's beginning and that is beginning something and has a future. I mean, that's all it is. You're starting from the beginning. You're going to something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to do with technology. It doesn't necessarily have to do with technology.
It doesn't. No,
but
it
it's
doesn't.
the same process when you apply it to anything.
Yeah.
It's the same process. No matter what you're doing, it's the same process. You're starting from the beginning and making your way up.
Yeah. If you're opening a cupcake shop, that's not a tech company.
No,
but if you're doing something innovative, that very well could be a startup as well.
Actually, I don't know if I consider brick and mortars as a startup.
Well, I would say if you're doing something that is unknown, that has not done before, so you couldn't go back and look at other people's mistakes in the sense of any other cupcake shop, right? You can kind of look at their old business plans and be like, okay, this is what they did to be successful. But if you're starting a cupcake shop with like spaghetti on top or meatball filled
something
cupcakes,
something if it's
totally
any
crazy.
cupcake, just like the cupcake right across the street, that's not that innovative. That's not a startup.
Right.
You're just riding the wave. But if you're doing something that challenges the industry, that to me is a startup.
Yeah.
I guess something that's not accepted, or not, I don't want to use the word accepted, something that is not obvious to the social norm.
So.
Yeah.
Especially that you're creating something new, and you have no idea if it's going to work or not work. And you're in the beginning stages of testing it. There's your startup, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, I think that even if a well-funded company who has 100 employees, I feel like that could be a startup as well.
When they got to start from somewhere to get that.
Yeah.
So you don't just start out of nowhere with 100
Yeah.
people in your office. And I mean, I wish I had 100 people in my office in a well-funded company.
Would you know what to do with 100 people in your office right now?
Hell no.
Yeah.
That's the point of the startup.
Yeah.
It's a learning process as you go.
Yeah.
I can't even manage the 7 people that I work with right now.
Yeah.
So they're like, nuts.
Yeah. It's funny. I run into a couple different entrepreneurs here in town. And I you know, they're like, oh, I just wish I had funding and all these different things. Like, and the first question I always ask is, the reason why you don't have funding now is because you don't even know what the hell to do with the funding that you would receive.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a key
It's a
ingredient.
process.
Yeah.
If you don't go through that process, you're just gonna blow it on unnecessary things.
Right.
I mean, we're at a stage where we have a little bit of funding, and we can get more now. Well, we will once we get more users, but we know what to do with it.
Right.
Because like we've already gone through this process. We know where we want to put the money. We know where we want to, who we want to hire.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was like 6 months ago, I'd be like, dude, I just got like $200K. I don't even know what to do with this. Let's just spend money on marketing.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wasted it.
Right.
I want to know, what are you doing with the no funding you have right now? What have you done with no funding whatsoever?
You have to get creative.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. I personally believe, and this is just a mantra of how I live my life, is, you know, a person gets what they are ready to receive. If you're not ready to receive, you're not going to get it. You know, it's just simple as that. So you have to go through all these things and endure, you know, the process, and your life will reward those who make it across. You know.
Yeah.
As Winston Churchill says, if you're going through hell, keep going. Because, you know, you can't go back. There's no turning back. Otherwise, what are you going to do? Get a job at Chi-Chi's? You know, like that's, you know, can't be having that.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, fear is your greatest enemy. So just got to keep on keeping the faith, man.
Yeah.
But when we went through this Startup Next program, an accelerator program, they really informed us that, like, you know, like 3 years ago, you could have been a brand new startup and you just developed an idea and you haven't even made a product yet or an MVP, and you could have got funding. You could have got like $100,000 and you could have built this team.
Yeah. And
now it's changed so much because there's been so many new startups, so many companies, and the investors been getting smarter about it, where they put their money. And now it's very hard to raise capital in the beginning. If you're not launched and you don't have hundreds, thousands of users, you're not going to gain capital. Unless you have this breakthrough idea or something like that, this breakthrough product, which is rare. So that's why the process of going through starting to that middle stage where you're ready to raise capital is very important. Especially now when it's really hard to get someone to say, yes, here's $200K, here's $1 million. Because that's solidifying that you've made it. You actually made it. You built a team. You made it this far. You deserve the money now, and you can prove to me that you're going to use it wisely. So then I think that's really important for new entrepreneurs to really understand. It's a process, and you need to take the time to learn it.
How can people learn more about Whiz Tutor?
So we have a website. It's whiztutorapp.com. Our mobile app will also be.
I was gonna say WHIZ.
Yeah, good.
WHIZ.
It is WHIZ. So whiztutorapp.com. And we also have Instagram, which is at Whiz Tutor. We have a Twitter, which is at Whiz Tutor, and a Facebook, which is also at Whiz Tutor. You can find us on the App Store come August. It may even be out there before then. But if you need a tutor in the meantime, you can just go on our website and just type in any subject or location, and tutor will find you. And if you are interested in tutoring with us and you're a tutor, just feel free to go to our website and apply online.
Thank you guys very much for joining us in EngageSCV. I've had a lot of fun talking with you guys, and I'm very excited to see where you guys take Whiz Tutor.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man. It's been awesome.
Thank you for joining us on EngageSCV. If you want to learn more about our organization or innovative companies in Santa Clarita, you may find us on EngageSCV.com or attend our events on meetup.com/EngageSCV. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.